When buying into a new launch, most buyers would focus on the nicest unit, the highest floor, the best view, or the most premium stack. However, more often than not, that's when the developer loads in the highest price premium. So instead of chasing the best unit, I look for something called the sweet spot. And in order to do that, I employ my 3S sweet spot strategy. The first thing I will do is to spot what is the unique selling point of the development. The second thing I'll do is to see where the developer will highly likely place the premium on, whether is it on the floor level, the view or facing, or the unit type. And lastly, secure the sweet spot. I will spot and shortlist units which fall within this sweet spot, getting that unit with the USP without paying the full premium to the developer. And today, let's test that theory with Pinery Residences. Hi, my name is Julia. Welcome back to my channel. If you have been following me, you'll realize that this is my first ever video for 2026. And if you're new to this channel, please help me to like and subscribe for more of such videos. So today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through Pinery Residences, share with you an overview, the total number of units which are available, and what are the unique selling points of Pinery Residences, which is an upcoming mixed development located in Tampines. From there, we'll be able to see what is the likely developer's pricing strategy for Pinery Residences on launch day and analyze the layout for you based on the different unit types. Then, we'll go into the sweet spot units within each unit type itself for you to decide whether or not you should be buying a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, or 5-bedroom within Pinery Residences. Lastly, your exit strategy. Pinery Residences is jointly developed by Hoi Hub and Sunway, and they have developed projects such as the Continuum in District 15, Terra Hill, as well as Key Residences, projects which you can drive by and take a look. Moving on to the project overview, Pinery Residences is a mixed development with an early childhood development center with 6 blocks of 14-story residential flats. There will be a total of 588 residential units and approximately 60 units of restaurants and retail, which includes supermarket, food court, as well as childcare center. This is a 99-year leasehold development beginning from January 2025. So in terms of the car park lots, we have 474 car park lots available, which takes up about 80% of the total unit mix. Because a large percentage of the units here in Pinery Residences are made of 2 bedrooms, there's a chance that even in your residential car park area, it wouldn't be too full. Moving on to the location of Pinery Residences. This here is the plot, this is the site where Pinery Residences is, and it's surrounded by residential developments. These are all your HDBs, and you can see this is where your future buyers are potentially going to be coming from. Pinery Residences is a mixed development, so you have food court, F&B, supermarket, childcare center, all located within the mixed development itself. Just a short walking distance, you have Safra, and you have your market, which is Tampines Round Market and Food Centre. One thing to note though, this plot of land here, which I'm circling right now with a plot ratio of 2.5, this is the upcoming EC Rivelle. And it will yield 500 plus units. Rivelle was launched in March 2026 this year and is an EC. So this means you have a construction period of around 3 years and an MOP of 5 years. Why is this important? This is important because Rivelle will be your direct competition, especially if you're a unit owner of Pinery in the future. So it's very important to be very mindful of the developments that surround you. Number one, for the demand. And the next thing, developments that surround you that affect the supply. So if you're an owner of Pinery Residences and you know that your competition is Rivelle, know that you need to exit before this supply hits the market in the future in about 8 years' time. So we have a total of 6 blocks of 14 stories. 95.9% of the units are facing a north-south orientation, which means that you know that there's a high chance that the developer is not going to be placing a premium on a north or south-facing view. And then if we zoom in and take a look, at block 930, there is a direct access down for you to take the underground pedestrian link to Tampines West MRT station, and that will take you an approximately 3 minutes walk from the side gate itself. In terms of the unit type, there are no 1-bedroom units here in Pinery Residences, and the smallest would be a 2-bedroom unit, and it ranges from 2-bedroom all the way to 5-bedroom. 2-bedroom units take up 43% of the total unit mix in Pinery Residences, and 3-bedroom 35%, 4-bedroom 20%, and 5-bedroom 2%. So for the 5-bedroom, there's only one step, and it's facing pool. Okay, so if we take a look at the site plan of Pinery Residences, you can see that you have a total of 6 blocks. Some of the units here will be facing the pool, some are facing greenery, some are facing external, these will be HDBs. This side here will be a HDB as well. However, the units here do not face the HDB, and these are the walls, so they will be either facing internal greenery space here or greenery space and a pool view here. So before we go into a deeper analysis of Pinery Residences, when analysing a new launch, the goal really isn't to buy the best unit. It's to buy what I call the best value unit. That's why I use this 3S sweet spot strategy. First, to spot the unique selling points of the development. Second, to study the developer's pricing levers. And to secure the sweet spot, the unit that is closest to the USP without you as a buyer paying the full premium. Let's apply this to Pinery Residences. So for the unique selling points of Pinery Residences, in terms of its location, it's within 1 km range to St. Hilda's Primary School. You are a straight downtown line to CBD, 9 minutes drive to Changi Business Park, and in terms of amenities, it's 1 minute stop to Tampines Central, 5 MRT stops to Jewel, and just 10 minutes walk to Bedok Reservoir Park. And there's a neighbourhood park located directly across Pinery Residences. So after dinner, if you're bored walking around your estate, you can just go cross the road and head to the park, which is just across the development. In terms of future growth opportunities, this is part of the East Region Master Plan, and you'll benefit from Paya Lebar Air Base relocation. In terms of connectivity, as mentioned earlier, Pinery Residences has a direct underground pedestrian linkway to Tampines West MRT. And this is a mixed-use development, so you do have the convenience of having a supermarket downstairs, food court, early development, childcare centre, and many more. In terms of the long-term demand, which is very important when you enter into a unit, you need to know who is going to be potentially buying from you in the future, thereby securing your exit strategy. In terms of the long-term demand, there is many BTOs nearby as shown earlier just now. This gives you a very ready pool of upgraders. However, buyers of Pinery have to be very, very mindful that the holding period for a unit here in Pinery Residences, especially if you're buying from an investment perspective, you may want to exit earlier before Rivelle hits MOP. So let's take a look at the site layout on first story access on how the development at Pinery Residences is linked to Pinery Mall. Because when people buy into a mixed development, what's the number one USP of a mixed development? The number one USP of a mixed development is convenience. So within a development itself, there will be certain blocks, certain stacks that are most convenient to the amenities within the mixed-use development. So, Block 930 has direct access to the underground pedestrian linkway to Tampines MRT. Those at Block 928 will have direct access to the F&B area. 926 will have direct access to the food court. Those who are staying at Block 922 will have direct access to the F&B in Pinery Mall. And then once you go down to Pinery Mall, you have a 24 hours through link which leads you to the MRT access and the underground pedestrian linkway to Tampines West MRT. So in terms of convenience, if you're a buyer buying into a mixed development and you want the ultimate convenience, which do you think is the most convenient block? I would say this one, Block 930. 930 has direct MRT access, so it's very easy for you to get to work and from work and to anywhere that you want to go. And when you go down to the lift, you'll be able to have also direct access to F&B and retail. You're also pretty close to the Early Childhood Development Centre. So there's a high chance that the developer will place a premium on the units here at Block 930. And interestingly, at Block 930, that's where we will not find any 4-bedroom units. So the next thing that we got to understand is the second S of the 3S sweet spot strategy, where the developer is loading the price premium. Once we understand the three levers, which is the floor loading, the facing, and the unit type, this would reveal to us where the developer will likely be pushing the premium and where we can find the potential sweet spot to get the best unit, which is undervalued. So developers typically load prices through three mechanisms. Floor loading, the higher floors are typically priced higher. The second thing would be facing loading, where better views command premiums. And the last one will be unit type loading. Certain layouts and certain unit sizes are priced higher based on buyer psychology. And my job here is to identify where the developer is loading the premium and to be able to shortlist the unit with the best value. And once you know the USP of the development, and we already know that for Pinery Residences is a combination of convenience, because it's a mixed-use development, convenience to MRT, convenience to your eateries and to your amenities. So once we shortlist the unit closest to the USP without paying the full premium, this unit will offer you a similar lifestyle benefit, better price efficiency, and a stronger resale potential. And that is the sweet spot. So let's take a look at the block-to-block distance for the units in Pinery. So you can see that those which are facing internal, some of them do have quite a generous distance, such as block 922, the stacks here. Facing block 928, you have a block-to-block distance of about 46 meters. Those here will have a block-to-block distance of around 34 meters, 37 meters here, and here about close to 30 to 36 meters. The closest here for stack 34 to stack 30 would be 17 meters. Those which are external facing, you know that there will be a HDB here. Block-to-block distance is approximately 79 meters. So these are the views that you're going to get in Pinery Residences. We have garden view, pool view, park view, as well as external view, which is going to be the HDB views. So what's very important is to be able to find the sweet spot and to understand where the developer will be likely placing the premium and to go in at a price where they did not load too much premium, but you still get to enjoy the premium view within the development. So another thing to note is that because this is a mixed development and there's going to be quite a substantial amount of F&B options such as restaurants and food court, there's definitely going to be kitchen exhaust ducting which have to flow out of the development. So everything that you see in red here, the arrows, will be where the exhaust ducting pointing out will be. So that means if you were to have a unit which is facing this direction, there is a chance that your unit may have the smell from the exhaust. So there's a very high chance that the developer will not be pricing a premium on those units here which are going to suffer from the smells from the exhaust. So when analysing a development like Pinery Residences, we cannot just look at the floor plans, even though that there are 17 floor plans within the development. We also need to consider things like where the MRT linkway is, where the kitchen exhaust placement is going to be, as well as proximity to convenience within the development. So convenience to the development can be defined as where it's easy access to F&B options, or where the childcare center is, or where the food court is. In my opinion, the developer may be pricing a premium on connectivity to the F&B options here, as well as the linkway to Tampines West MRT station. Moving on to the layout analysis, there's a total of 49 stacks in Pinery Residences, 2 to 5 bedrooms, and there's a total of 17 different floor plans. 95.9% of the units have a north-south facing orientation. So when we analyze Pinery Residences and we look at the floor loading, facing loading, as well as the unit type loading, it helps us to understand this. So developers almost always load prices through three mechanisms: floor loading, facing loading, and unit type loading. So the first question to ask for Pinery Residences is, how tall is the project? And we already know that this is 14 floors. So if it's 14 floors, the per floor jump may be high. If it's 60 over floors like Zion Grand, the per floor jump may be very, very minimal as the developer cannot price very aggressively. This means the strategy for Pinery Residences is not to go as high as possible, but to go for the units which are on the lower floor. And actually, the units are on the lower floor which are internal facing, you do have a better view. The higher that you go, the less of the view of the development that you'll be able to get. So that's where we can find the potential sweet spot for Pinery Residences. Next will be facing loading. Developers typically put a price loading on views and or orientation. But since we already know that 95.9% of the units in Pinery Residences will be north-south orientation, there may be a possibility that for those which are not of a north-south orientation, the developer will be giving a discount. Another thing to understand is that for Pinery Residences, it's either you're facing internally or externally. And externally, the view is not great. You're either facing HDB or you're going to be facing a park. Subsequently, after the park will be HDB as well, and you're going to be facing road. So all those which are external facing, you either have exhaust fumes, road noise, or an obstructed view. So we have to look at when the developer is pricing the units with an internal facing, where the opportunities lie. Finally, we understand that there is 2 to 5 bedrooms within Pinery Residences. As we can see from the past previous launches such as Zion Grand, Promenade Peak, River Green, the developers price in a premium for the bigger units. And we need to see whether or not Pinery Residences, whether the developer will be loading the premium on the bigger unit types or the smaller unit types. So this approach allows buyers such as yourself to avoid overpaying on launch day, as well as to identify undervalued units and maximize your future resale demands, because premium that the developer places on the units on launch day may or may not translate into behavior in the resale market. So the aim here is to be able to find units in that sweet spot which are undervalued but have a highest chance of performing well in the resale market when you decide to exit in the future. So now let's take a look at the 2 bedrooms. So for the 2 bedrooms, under the unit type B1, there's a total of 10 stacks. 10 stacks of the exact same layout type. So it's very important for us to be able to identify where the developer is going to be pricing the premium for the stack and then shortlist the sweet spot based on those stacks. So let's take a look at the layout for B1. It's a very, very efficient layout. Dumbbell layout, no corridor, no wasted space. You have your bedrooms on both sides of the house. And in the master bedroom, you're able to fit 2 side tables on each side. You walk in, you get an open kitchen. And the developers have also done up a store provision because this unit doesn't have a storeroom. So you have a small little area here for you to store maybe like your luggages and your extra dry food items. So both bedrooms have ensuite bathroom access, which is great because then this actually feels like a junior master bedroom. So within the 10 stack itself, definitely the developer will be placing a premium on some of the stacks. So what I've done is that I've analysed all the different stacks within Pinery Residences according to its unit type, size, as well as its view, to be able to shortlist the stacks in which the developer is likely going to be loading the premium. So on launch day itself, we'll use this and we'll input the pricing of the developer to be able to understand what are the potential price differences and the premiums that the developer are loading on the certain stacks. I feel that in stack 26 and 27, it will be the likely stacks that the developer will be loading the premium on. However, I have shortlisted other stacks which are the sweet spot stacks, which if the developer is placing a high premium on these stacks, there are other stacks that you can consider which offer the same USP and are able to give you a good chance of exit in the future. So from here, you'll be able to see that within the 10 stacks itself, most of them have a pool view, out of which 2 of the stacks have an external view. So there's a high chance that those with the external view, because they're going to be exhaust pipe facing, the developer is not going to be placing a premium on it. However, on launch day, we'll need to see and analyze the difference in the premium that the developer is placing for the pool view units versus the external facing units and the garden view unit. If the garden view unit does not have a premium on it, then that is where the sweet spot is going to lie, because it is still an internal facing unit. It's going to be quiet and it's not going to have exhaust, it's not going to have any issues of having potential smells from the exhaust flowing into the unit. So what I've done is I've analysed all the different unit types within Pinery Residences, and I've classified them according to the different views that it have, as well as the block and stack that it's located at. And from here, we'll be able to tell very, very clearly where the developer is likely going to be pricing its premium units at, as well as where the potential sweet spots within this unit type is going to be. So if you're keen to find out more about the 3-bedroom and how it's going to be like, please scan the QR code and reach out to me, and I'll share with you my thought process and my strategy for analysing this. So for type B2, there are a total of 2 stacks, stack 20 and stack 29, one located at block 926 and another at block 928. Both are facing out. One faces the park and the other faces HDB. So from here, you can see that between these 2 stacks, there's a high chance that the developer will be pricing a premium on stack 20 because the view is slightly better. However, if the developer decides to load all of the premium on the internal facing units, then there may be opportunities that lie here for the 635 square feet units for the 2-bed 2-bath. So now let's take a look at the layout for B2. So the moment you come in from the entrance here, you will first have your bath, which is located at the entrance, then your bedroom, which is a very interesting layout, not a layout that we have seen before. Then you walk past, you will be your kitchen, your master bedroom, which is tucked here with your master bathroom. This unit type does not have an ensuite bathroom for the bedroom 2. And then you have quite a longish living and dining area here. It's not a layout that we commonly see, however, it's quite interesting because even though this is not a dumbbell layout, there is no corridor. So it's a very, very efficient layout. Moving on to the next bedroom type, which is type B3, which is also a 2-bed 2-bath. You come in here, bedrooms are all tucked in on one side. No ensuite toilet for the common bedroom. Same, master bedroom can fit 2 side tables. You have a nice squarish balcony. This is perfect for those who do not like the dumbbell layout in the unit. So one thing to note is that based on our 3S sweet spot analysis for this unit type, you can see that for stack 10, it is the only stack which is an internal facing. Both stack 4 and stack 13 are external facing. One has a HDB view and another has a park view. So between these 2, there's a high chance that stack 10 will be priced the highest amongst these 3. So it's very important that on launch day, you have this data so that you can quickly run the numbers and you do not run the risk of overpaying for a unit that you have shortlisted. Moving on to B4, this is the 2+ study standing at 700 square feet. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a total of 6 stacks of this 2+ study unit, out of which we have 3 units which are internal facing. So for the internal facing units, we know that it's definitely going to be quieter and more peaceful, but between the garden view and the pool view, it would depend on how the developer decides to load the premium. So there may be a sweet spot that if you're looking for an internal facing unit to actually go for the pool view, if the developer loads a lower premium on that, or to go for the garden view because it's internal facing and it's also quiet, no possible exhaust smells or road noise, and you don't get a high premium placed on the unit. So again, scan the QR code, reach out to me, and I'll run through with you the way I analyze units on launch day so that you can avoid overpaying and you'll be able to shortlist a unit with the highest chance of a good exit in the future. For those of you who are interested in the 3-bedrooms 3S sweet spot strategy, oh my god, it's such a mouthful, for Pinery Residence, please scan the QR code and reach out to me and I'll share with you my analysis as to which are the stacks which the developer are likely to load a premium on and which are the units which are lying in the sweet spot. I have done a similar analysis of all the 3-bedrooms within Pinery Residences with the different views and shortlisted the stacks in which I feel that the developer will likely place a premium on launch day, as well as the stacks and the units where there may potentially be a sweet spot and you'll be able to purchase an undervalued unit. So scan the QR code to start a conversation today and I will share this information with you. So moving on to the 4-bedroom layout analysis, you can see that there are a total of 10 stacks for the 4-bedroom and not all stacks are created equal. For stack number 6, it is the stack with the longest block-to-block distance with 46 meters and is also the closest to the MRT. So there's a very, very high chance that with a combination of the pool view, widest block-to-block distance, and being closest to the MRT and F&B options, stack number 6 will be where the developer prices the premium. So there may be a sweet spot when we look at stack 24 because it is actually the same size, same layout type, both are D4, closest to MRT, has a pool view, but of course there's the drawback here where the block-to-block distance is 24 meters. So instead of paying a very high premium for stack 6, buyers can consider to look at stack 24 where the block-to-block distance is 24 meters and also closest to MRT and also has the same pool view. If you're interested to find out where are the other sweet spots within the 10 stacks of the 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom within Pinery Residences and are interested to know where the other potential sweet spots are going to be, please scan the QR code to reach out to me to have a conversation today. Moving on to the exit strategy of Pinery Residences. So in understanding the exit strategy, we have to understand the demand, supply, and what makes your unit so different, and knowing when to exit is extremely important. As Pinery Residences sits in a mature HDB estate, most of the future demand will likely come from HDB upgraders. And these HDB upgraders could come from your 3-room flat, 4-room flat, or even 5-room. But most of the upgraders will typically come from the 4 or 5-room. So for those who are coming from the 4 or 5-room, it could be a couple, young families that are looking for mainly 3 bedrooms because they're already used to having 3 bedrooms. However, because family sizes are getting smaller and smaller these days, and we see many instances of dinks, which is double income, no kids, there is a high possibility that upgrading from a HDB to a condo, you may not go straight away to a 3-bedroom and you may choose 2 bedrooms instead. And that's probably why Pinery Residences has such a high concentration of 2-bedroom units, so as to cater to this kind of future demand. Another thing to understand is your competition in the future when you're looking to exit the supply. So I've shared earlier in my video that your competition in the area for Pinery, direct competition, will be Rivelle, which is an EC, and the EC will MOP in about 8 years' time. So the key strategic question here is, when Rivelle MOPs next time, would buyers still choose Pinery? So there are some things that we got to look at to see whether or not Pinery has those attributes to be able to stand out in the resale market. So your unit will need to stand out in one of these 3 areas. So knowing when to exit is very important. So if you are going to be an owner of Pinery Residence, you can consider 2 exit windows. But before that, let's take a look at the unit mix of Rivelle. Rivelle ranges from 3-bedroom all the way to 5 bedrooms. So owners can consider 2 potential exit windows. So if you have a unit type which is similar to Rivelle, you can consider to exit before Rivelle hits MOP. However, if you're an owner with a 2-bedroom unit in Pinery Residences, you're not facing that kind of time pressure to exit because there's no 2-bedroom unit type. And the size difference between the 2-bedroom and a top-up to a 3-bedroom in Rivelle in the future is going to be quite substantial, and I'll show you in my later slides. The units that face the most risk in Pinery Residences will be those which are facing externally and do not have a good view, as well as a similar or higher quantum compared to Rivelle. If you are a unit which has a lower quantum compared to Rivelle, such as a smaller unit type, you do not face that much of a risk and not much of a time pressure to exit. So some of the unit types that Rivelle cannot easily replace will be good facing, layouts that they do not have, as well as a unique stack. The biggest future competition for Pinery is definitely going to be the Rivelle, which is an EC located diagonally across Pinery Residences. Pinery owners must ensure that your unit remains competitive based on at least one of the factors here, whether it's a lower quantum on price, whether it has a more efficient layout, does it have a better view of facing, or is it closer to MRT compared to the competition, and whether does it offer a lifestyle upgrade. So if you're considering a unit in Pinery Residences, Pinery owners must ensure that your units remain competitive, either through a better facing, a better layout, or a more attractive price quantum. My recommendation for you is to find a unit type that is able to tick off most of the boxes here so that you don't face a time pressure when Rivelle hits the market during MOP. So if you're a 2-bedroom owner in Pinery, you're sitting in a very, very good sweet spot, because hypothetically, if you were to buy into a unit at 2,100 PSF next time, and if you were to sell at 2,500 PSF, you're looking at selling at about 1.56 million. If you were to exit at about 2,700 PSF next time, you're looking at selling at about 1.5 to 1.68. Whereas for the 700 square feet, you're looking at selling at about 1.75 to about 1.89 as your potential exit price in the future. However, compared to Rivelle, which is a 3-bedroom unit, if they were to exit and sell at 2.2 million in the future, the gap that you have where any potential buyer is looking to top up to get an additional room is still quite substantial. And these units here, which is a 2-bed, 2-bath, are sitting in a very, very good sweet spot. So to find out more and to see how the different prices will play out in the future, please WhatsApp me to start the conversation and I'll be happy to share more with you. So that's my analysis of Pinery Residences using my 3S sweet spot strategy, spotting the project's USP, studying how the developer structures its pricing, and identifying the sweet spot that offer the best balance of value and positioning. If you're considering a unit in Pinery Residences and would like help in selecting the right unit, scan the QR code to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help you. Because when you're buying a new launch, it's not about buying the cheapest unit or the highest floor. It's about selecting the right unit that gives you the best value and the highest chance of a safe exit next time. And that's where I come in. Once again, I'm Julia from Property Jupes. Like and follow for more of such videos. Scan the QR code and reach out to me if you'd like to discuss more and need help for your property needs. I'll hear from you soon. Bye!